guys, for you to get a sense of if you were looking to get into a franchise, what does that search process look like for you? What are some of the things you need to consider? Who are the people who are going to become your resource people in that process? If you're starting to think of buying a franchise, the second question that comes into people's minds is, how am I going to get the money? So guys, in my capacity as a franchise consultant, what I do is work with you. You've come to me and you've said, hey, can you help me find the right franchise? I then take you through a series of proprietary assessments that you and I will do together. Based on that, based on a series of calls and meetings we'll have, I will start to identify what the right brands are going to be for you based on who you are and what your goals are. Once we've done that, I then introduce you to the different brands. In this particular scenario, I have my dear friend Bob Johnston, who's on the call. I have Mona James, and I have Ben Burt. Each of them had a very specific role to play in this process that we call franchise search. As a little bit of background, Ben Burt, he came to me from 100 Entrepreneurs. He was on exactly a call just like this. I believe, Ben, you told me you got an email from your person at Walter Reed. They had sent you something because you had talked to them about business ownership. Then you joined the call, you found me, you reached out to me, and then we started chatting. That's how he and I met. I took him through that series of assessments. And once I lined him up with different brands, that's where what we call due diligence begins. As part of the process, I introduced people to 3 brands. Typically, 3 seems to be the magic number. 2 brands are too few, 4 seem to be too many. So 3. Ben very quickly whittled down from 3 to 1. And the one brand that he homed in on is the brand that Bob Johnston, who's on the call, represents. I think I want to start with truly the star of the show here, Bob, Amanda, is Ben Burt. Without him, this call would not have happened.
So yeah, as you mentioned, I did the entrepreneurs webinar. I think it was back in October. I had just gotten out of 8 months of rehabilitation in preparation for medical retirement. And I was pivoting into business, and I was looking at the franchise model from talking with some other friends of mine who had retired, and they went on to get MBAs and things like that. They recommended the franchising model because I didn't have a background in business, and a lot of franchises, that's essentially what you're purchasing is a business model. And it helps if you find the right franchise, like I did. They do a lot of that backside support and education in where you have knowledge gaps. So we essentially, it's gone very quickly, but essentially we locked in the financing, I believe in January, and February, excuse me, and which Mona James, who's also going to be on the call, was phenomenal. Your team is exceptional. But essentially from the webinar, I got to you. You did the assessment, found out what my values were. And like a lot of vets, after a long career, been gone a lot. I wanted to be around for family. I wanted to control my schedule, and I wanted to kind of work for myself for a change. So you linked me in with Fibernew, and then Bob on the franchising development team for Fibernew was exceptional as well. We got the financing locked in, and then now I'm going through the training program right now, and I'll have the business up and running in May. So working out of the house and being able to control my own schedule, and I'm learning a lot and enjoying the entire process.
Ben, can you, if I could ask you, would you go back in for a moment and think about what was in your mind when you whittled down from the 3 brands I gave you? What made you decide, or in your mind start to think that Fibernew might be the one for you?
I would say the 2 biggest factors were, one, with Fibernew's model, I could start off by myself generating revenue, and then cash flow expansion as I developed the market. I could bring in techs under me and I could generate revenue right off the bat with several of the other business models. Some of them you have to get several people on the payroll and establish the business before you can actually start generating revenue. You're doing a lot of subcontracting, which cuts into your margins. So for me, Fibernew was ideal in that setting because I could start off on my own and then expand out as I developed the network. So I did this huge pivot, and with a pre-med degree, I didn't know anything about business. I know biology and chemistry, so the marketing aspects, the funding aspects, the banking aspects, all of that, and that's where the franchising model, I think, for me, has been outstanding, and Bob and the Fibernew team have been outstanding because they connect all those dots and fill in those knowledge gaps that were very intimidating to me, especially up front. I didn't know what I didn't know. Imagine they basically give you the op order and you just take your own initiative and run with it. So I'm used to dealing with that kind of scenario where at least I have my left and right limits. And that's where I think a lot of the franchising models are good with that. And Faizun does a really good job, I think, of only selecting good brands that have like that team atmosphere and the reputation and backside support that we as veterans we kind of connect with.
As you work through with the brands, you are going to meet a lot of people in the brand. But there's one person in particular, in many ways, they become your shadow. They hold you by the hand and they take you throughout the process, answering any questions you have, putting forward any resources that you might need. And then on my end, what I do, this person within the brand, they're typically called the directors of development. Bob Johnston, who I'll introduce in a moment, he does exactly that role for Fibernew.
As we go through these steps, and Ben and I did, it's no selling, it's not twisting any arms, it's educating. And those 5 steps are this. We do that introductory call. After that, we do a PowerPoint. And in this case, we had Ben's wife on the call, of course. When that call is done, the fun begins. Step 3 is validation, where you can pick up the phone and call any franchise within our system. You can ask them any questions you want. Ben went through that process. We asked him to complete 7 to 10 calls. Ben was Johnny on the spot. He also worked with our mapping department on formalizing his territory. Instead of us just sending you a map, we let you actually construct the territory with the help of Jamie Miles, our mapping coordinator. Once he had the map figured out, he did his validation. He felt real strong about Fibernew. Our step 4 is he got to go on a physical ride day where he got to go and spend a whole day with a franchise owner and get to see and experience it. And Ben maybe can comment on that later, but what I always hear from people is they're just amazed. They get to see the transition happen. They get to get in there and participate to some degree. They get to ask personal questions as the day progresses. And when that day is over, our 5th and final step is Ben and I met about 2 or 3 days later. I called the franchise owner he rode with. I asked a number of questions because, of course, it's got to be the right fit for everyone. And typically when people go on a ride day with us, I'd say 98% are approved. 2% maybe aren't, but you really got to do something bad not to be approved because we've spent this time together and we try to weed out the ones we feel aren't the right fit. Because let's be honest, we don't want to sell something. We want to educate, make sure that you're enthusiastic, you're interested, and this is what you want to do. In Ben's case, he got to see 2 franchise owners that were neighbors, and the feedback I got from both of them was just, oh, Bob, he's just great.
There's a reason why veterans naturally make fantastic franchise owners. This is not me talking. This is actually industry insight. Over and over, time and time again, across industries, across categories, we find that franchise owners who are veterans, who've come in with that background, tend to be very successful when that fit is there, right? We talked about the fit. Bob talked about the fit. Ben talked about the fit. When we actually find that fit between who you are and what the business does, that's where the magic happens.